Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by our old pals at Carl Friedrich. They are back again, and we have talked about a bunch of great products from them, from their leather key fobs, which are like a Swiss Army knife for your keys, to their carry-on, which I have been using personally for like a year. I love that thing. Today, it's watch straps, and I am a watch snob. I know a lot about watch straps, and I don't settle for low quality. They got two styles coming at you, the classic and the modern. The classic is a double stitch. The modern is a stitchless design, works great for your sport watches. Both are made of beautiful, soft, vegetable tanned Tuscan leather, and they come in a variety of tones from a light caramel all the way to a black. Listen, when it comes to Tuscany, I've been there a bunch. I love their wine, I love their food, and I love their leather goods. They know those things in Tuscany, and Carl Friedrich is bringing it to you. Hit the link in the description, and thank you to Carl Friedrich for sponsoring today's video. Hey folks, welcome to the Mojave Desert, where Zach and I are on a little adventure with our friend Tim and our respective ladies. We are going to drive 570 miles on the Southern California Backcountry Discovery Route. Now, the whole trail is about 900 miles, but we don't have time for that. So we're going to do the meat of it. We're going to go through the Mojave Desert, we're going to go through Death Valley, and we're going to go over the Eastern Sierras to Lone Pine and the Alabama Hills. Zach will be driving and reviewing the 2021 F150 FX4 with the Powerboost hybrid system, which means the onboard generator. Very cool stuff. And I will be driving this monster. This is a Mercedes Sprinter 2500 modified by off-highway vans and available for rent through Warner Sprinters of Utah. This thing is a beast. It's got a bed, it's got a kitchen, it's got heaters, it's got inverters, it's got water on board. It's got all the good things you should need for an off-road trip like this. Mechanically, this van is completely stock as it left the factory, with a turbo diesel engine, automatic gearbox, a 4x4 drivetrain with a locking center differential, and low range. It only has BFG KO2 tires, but on the inside, it's been converted into a beautiful off-road RV with a refrigerator, a sink, 30-gallon hot water heater and tank, an induction burning stove, a cool stereo, and plenty of storage, not to mention the modular bed system. Rather than just reviewing this product as I normally do with sports cars, I'm going to use this opportunity to tell you the 10 most important things my wife Hannah and I learned on our very first off-road van overlanding adventure. Here we go. Pack properly. And by that, I don't just mean what goes into your suitcase, which we have limited space here. That's very important. Check the weather where you're going and pack for that, and try not to bring too much extra, because there's a lot that needs to go into this little van, okay? But that also means how you pack the van itself. This van is very tall, and vehicles, when they go off-roading, rock back and forth. That means your things that are going to be up high versus your things that are going to be down low is something to think about. The heavier the item and the more likely it is to break, the lower you're going to want it to go. If you're building an RV or buying one, you want these cabinets to have mechanical locks on them. This one only has magnetic locks. So the very first time we hit washboard,
It's just sending all the shit in the cabinets fucking all over. This is gnarly.
all of our food, which we had up here, ended up on the floor or on the wall, as you can see here, or down in between the bench and the wall, which is where a glass jar of peanut butter went. The worst possible thing in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. Which brings me to my next point. This one van has a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen all in one place. And so that means be prepared with your cleaning products. Bring every cleaning product you could think of. Bring a vacuum, bring a broom, bring the sprays, bring the rags. Every single day in this van, I had to clean up a mess that I never ever would have thought I had to clean up before.
No, wait. The sugar. So awesome.
On day one, it was the peanut butter. Day two, the olive oil. Day three, the sugar. On day four, I spilled an entire cup of hot coffee into the refrigerator. absurd messes. I mean, really absurd messes. Have you ever bank shotted a cup of coffee into an open refrigerator? No, but in a space this size, you might. Bring stuff to clean up. When packing your kitchen for a multi-day overlanding trip, it's important to be conservative with how much produce and meats you bring. Meaning, while you're at a real grocery store, get as much as you can hold and be able to hold a lot. That refrigerator in the van is not that big. And these maps, although I love them and although I appreciate the effort that goes into them, simply were not accurate when it came to the availability of food for purchase. In one case, we went to 1, 2, 3 stops in a row, all of which have little shopping carts indicating a grocery store, but only really finding gas station convenience stores when we got there. In hindsight, I would have packed a bigger cooler with dry ice and a bunch of meat, so I only had to worry about picking up starches at gas stations. Learn from me on that one. When shopping for a van, either to rent or to buy or build, the real game changer, in my opinion, is the tall vans. This van is 9'8" with its solar panel on the roof. But what's really important is that I, at 6'3", can stand up straight. Being able to stand up in your van means you can cook, you can change, you can clean, you can work, and you can live, as opposed to one of the shorter vans where you really have to climb out of the van to do almost anything. When it's cold, windy, or raining, that makes an enormous difference. Let's talk about beds. In your overlanding vans, you've got 2 real options for beds: fixed or modular. This one, as I will demonstrate, is modular. It's made of these spring-loaded metal planks that press into a pegboard and hold up the bed. It also folds down, so you've got a couch down here. Now, if you go on the overlanding van forums, big debate: fixed bed or modular bed. In my opinion, if you've got a van at home and you want to build yourself a camper van, but you still have to use the van for van things, modular beds are great. They're easy, you can take them out, store it, put it back in when you need it. But if you're going off-roading, water and mud, extreme caution. If you're driving on washboard, fixed bed is where it's at. This modular bed couldn't really handle the rigors of washboard and basically collapsed every time we tried to go off-road, meaning I had to rebuild the bed at every campsite. And if you've got to build your bed at every campsite, why even have a van? Bins. Bins are your best friend. This cargo area under the bed back here is fabulous. It's totally huge and you can put anything back here. But anything not in a bin will get tossed all over the place, and odds are you'll never see it again until you get home and unpack the van. So organize your life before you go on the trip by heading out to Target or whatever, picking up a bunch of bins, and then organizing your stuff. That'll make it much easier to find later. The hardest part about planning your route is that the defining characteristic of how fast you can travel on any given route is the surface of the road itself, and that's something that's frequently the least shown in the maps. Sure, the map indicates whether a road is dirt or paved, but it doesn't indicate how deteriorated the washboard is and whether you can travel it at 30 miles an hour or have to slow down to 5. So when planning your route, it's important to do as much homework as you can, but also be very conservative with your distance goals. Don't say, I'm going to go 200 miles off-road today, because that might prove a futile venture, and you don't need to disappoint yourself. This is for fun. Let's talk for a quick second about tires. If you're buying, building, or renting one of these vans, it probably will come with an off-road appropriate tire, such as this BFG KO2, like we've got here. But let's talk about pressures, right? With a van like this, big, tall, and heavy, the factory on-road pressure is 68 PSI. But you're gonna wanna drop that very significantly for going off-road. This is for a couple of reasons, right? One, squishier tire actually gives you more grip over the uneven terrain. 2, softer sidewall because of lower pressure really improves that ride quality, something that's super important when your house is in the off-road vehicle, right? The Sprinter might be super, super tough and whatever, could take anything, but the cabinetry, the sink, the water lines, the burners, the batteries, maybe not so much. Dropping your tires to the appropriate pressures off-road is really going to improve your experience on the dirt. But that also means you might have to carry a pretty powerful compressor to pump them back up when you hit the asphalt. Vehicle selection is important, and I'm not talking about just who builds out your conversion. I'm talking about the base vehicle. Ram, Ford, and Mercedes all make a tall van that's appropriate for an RV conversion. And the Ford E-Series is used as well for some pop-top type stuff. But what I really like about the Sprinters, and they are the most expensive at $65,000 for an empty cargo van, right? But when you're driving it, you're driving a Mercedes. They have those scientists, those neuroscientists working on their seats, and this is one of the best seats I've ever been in a van. The whole steering wheel and driver's compartment and the engagement of the engine and gearbox really feels like a Mercedes. So if you're not gonna go very far, half an hour out of town and then park the thing for a week, it might matter to spend more money in the back. But if you're really gonna be ticking off the miles, it makes sense to spend money in the front. Before going on an overland adventure, before renting a van or buying one, before packing your bags, you got to decide where you're going to go. And these backcountry discovery routes are incredible. Zach and I have now done 3 of them: Washington, Utah, and California. But there's something very important that I think we learned on this trip. If you're going to do a BDR, if you're going to go overlanding, it's great to do it in your own backyard if you've just moved to that state and you're really trying to get to know it. But if you're really familiar with overlanding and the area around where you live, take the opportunity to go somewhere else. Although the So Cal Backcountry Discovery Route is really pretty and well marked and well researched, Zach and I both had more fun when we traveled to other states, where things that would be rather familiar for us here in California would be fresh and new, just based on the fact that we haven't seen them before. So by all means, explore your own state, but don't miss out on seeing something all new. And my very last tip, if you're gonna get into overlanding, or this seems like something that you are down with, before you buy, before you commission, before you allocate deep in the 6 figures of resources, before you sell 3 Bitcoin to buy one of these vans, rent one. We got this one out of Warner Sprinters in Utah, but there are a lot of other companies all over the United States that rent these vans out. And I'm saying this as someone who owns a collector car storage facility, Westside Collector Car Storage here in Playa Vista. I have taken dozens of calls from people looking to store their Sprinters or their other off-road ready vans. And the fact is, don't buy one, have it show up at your house, and figure out where you're gonna keep it later. This is a really easy thing to rent for a small fraction of the build price and then hand right back when you're done. And that way, you're gonna learn what you want and what you don't want in a van before you've spent that 6-figure price tag. So shout out to Off-Highway Vans and shout out to Warner Sprinters in Utah for letting me and Zach have a go in this amazing Sprinter 2500 called the Sundance Kid. And thank you for watching my how-to overlanding video from a total overlanding amateur. And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.